Everybody's caring about the white face, the white face, the white face. Nobody's talking about how he's actually showing how insincere this woman has been for months about the untimely death of her husband, how opportunistic she's been in all of these interviews while the camera is in her face, and obviously how she's evil. What up, everybody? Today's an interesting day on the channel because I usually talk about hip hop, but today we're going to be talking about comedy. And we're not talking about just any comedian. We're talking about the most famous Instagram comedian to ever exist, Druski. Now, for the younger people watching this, you know exactly who Druski is. For the older people watching this, you may know who he is, or you may have just heard of him today because of his whole Erica Kirk skit that just went viral. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Erica Kirk sketch and why it's not just funny, but actually revolutionary. Today, we're not just going to talk about what's funny about his sketches. We're going to talk about why they make MAGA so upset and why his sketches are making some of them question their beliefs as a whole. And how in a time of reality show presidents, unwinnable wars in the Middle East, and ICE taking over for TSA at airports, someone like Druski may be the savior that we've needed all along. But before we get into all that, we need to understand who Druski is and where he comes from. Drew DeBoers was born September 12, 1994 in Maryland and raised in Gwinnett County, Georgia, an area known for hip-hop acts like the Migos. That means not only did he get exposed to white conservative views and MAGA culture, he was also immersed in Southern hip-hop and Black conservative church culture as well. And you can see this in a lot of his sketches. In 2017, Druski first started making sketches on Instagram under the name Druski Too Funny. But it wasn't until COVID-19 that he finally blew up and got the recognition that he deserved. Initially gaining recognition for sketches about hip-hop, the Black community, or everyday things that we all go through, Druski gained an incredible amount of fans in a very, very short time. And now that Druski has created this massive following, he started making sketches that don't just make people laugh, they make them think. It's no secret that the line between serious political commentary and content has started to get incredibly blurry, and for some reason, comedy is right in the driver's seat. Theo Vaughn, Andrew Schultz, Joe Rogan, they all have a similar worldview, whether they want to acknowledge it or not. And that worldview is very right-wing leaning. Now you're seeing a lot of them turn around because of how bad and how horrifying Trump's policies have become and how unpopular he is with the rest of the country. But that doesn't absolve them of anything that they've said or done and the young people that they convinced to vote for someone like Donald Trump. For the last few years, comedy for some reason went from being a leftist hub of acceptability and diversity to a very, very right-wing libertarian boys club. Things like racism, homophobia, misogyny were now getting people cheered on. And there's a couple reasons for this. Number one, people had cancellation fatigue. I'm a leftist, but I will say that when it came to Twitter and just social media in general, someone could do one little thing and people would actually rally around to get this person's life destroyed. And it led to a lot of people taking serious critique when it comes to diversity or racism or homophobia to kind of become a bit apathetic. Another thing is unaffordability. A lot of celebrities are seen as liberal or some form of on the left, right? And these celebrities have a lot more money than anybody else. And when you have a lot of money, you are very, very often tone deaf, which a lot of celebrities are. This drove people to not just be sick of these celebrities, but also be sick of the things that these celebrities believe in, even if the things the celebrities believe in ultimately are for the liberation of working class people. People often see wealthy liberals or wealthy leftists as fake and disingenuous, where in contrast, they see somebody who's conservative, who is very, very against any sort of handouts, who's also rich, as more of an ally because they're being straightforward about how they think that they're better than everyone. And number three, because men, mostly white men, but I'll be fair, men in general, feel like they're being pushed out in a certain way, and that masculinity is frowned upon. So when they indulge in these types of people like Theo Vaughn, like Andrew Schultz, like Joe Rogan, who just shoot from the hip, say what they feel without checking any sort of facts, this gives them a feeling of liberation that they aspire to. And it can be a great honeypot for very, very conservative views. The last 5 or 10 years, the left has been the political side that can't take a joke and that isn't any fun and won't let you say how you really feel. While that's not always true, that's definitely the perception that you feel in the mainstream. And this is why it's such a honeypot for young men. Now it seems like balance has been restored to the force. Let's be real. Places like Meta and other social media platforms have kind of been putting this stuff to the side for a very, very long time because they're tapped in with Trump. And I think the reason that leftist comedy is now starting to prosper a little bit more is simply because things have gotten so bad. No one is engaging with this right-wing rhetoric anymore, even in a fun, friendly way. It doesn't matter if it's just a joke anymore because now they see the consequences of the joke. And now comedians who have concerns about where our society is going finally have the opportunity again to help people understand about the real issues going on in this country. But comedy fighting against fascism and oppression isn't something new. Charlie Chaplin used to do it during World War II when we were going against Adolf Hitler. Lenny Bruce in the 1950s was a pioneer of free speech in New York City, and that's what allows comedians to say whatever they want today. Legendary comedians like Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Dave Chappelle all made their names by talking about the harsh realities in our society. And this is why Druski's sketch is so important. He's holding a mirror up to society. Everybody's caring about the white face, the white face, the white face. Nobody's talking about how he's actually showing how insincere this woman has been for months about the untimely death of her husband, how opportunistic she's been in all of these interviews while the camera is in her face, and obviously how she's evil. I feel like if you ask Druski what his political views are, there's something that tells me his political views are probably a bit more centrist. If I'm being honest, I don't really think he's some sort of hard-hitting leftist or anything like that. But that almost makes it even better because that means that, once again, these policies have gotten so incredibly unpopular that someone who isn't a devout leftist is making content like this critiquing our government. If someone who's apolitical, like Druski, makes a video like this, that means the public tide has turned. And that, to me, is a fantastic sign. And this isn't the first time he's done stuff like this. He's made sketches about MAGA people before. He's made sketches about white rappers. He even made a sketch about black churches and how predatory black pastors can be when it comes to tithes. And what's so great about someone like this doing these types of sketches is because he has visibility, mainstream visibility. There are people on the left, the right, up and down who watch Druski sketches all the time. And when you have someone like him promoting a lot of these views, it makes it a little bit more palatable for everybody else. Like, I have family members who are devout Christians. If anybody, including me, was to make a video about predatory black preachers and how much money they ask for, most of them would not have been about it. They would have turned it off. They would have pretended that they watched it and supported it because I'm family, but truthfully, they would have talked all sorts of crap behind my back. But you let Druski do it, universally loved internet comedian Druski, and everybody not just laughs, but they also have to think and be honest about what it is. I want people to pay attention to this stuff because it's bigger than comedy. This right here is why people care so much about art. This is why people are so against different things like AI taking over. Because with art comes introspection. When you take the human out of the art, the introspection goes with it. Yes, sometimes comedy are just jokes and just farts. But a lot of times, comedy is about political discourse. A lot of times, comedy is about oppression. A lot of times, comedy is the educator that people need in order to seek out certain things that they need to know. So next time you see somebody that makes you laugh, also think, what are they teaching me? And do I actually believe this? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. I'll see you later. Peace.